what really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Tuesday, June 16th, 2020, getting on to the second half of the month, coming up on the 4th of July. And oh boy, everybody's getting ready around here. Everybody's getting around here. They got all kinds of fireworks and stuff. I mean, you can get anything out there. And I've already started building my war chest, if you will. So we're going to have a lot of fun. We've got 3 parties coming up. We've got one next week, which is going to be the first party we've thrown in our new home since we moved in here, and Claire's going crazy and cooking and decorating and the rest of it. And then we're going to have a second party closer to the end of the month for family members who are leaving Indiana, heading out to Washington State. And then finally, there's the 4th of July itself, which we're going to do down by the lake. So we're all looking forward to some real good old American fun there, you know, with the sparklers and the spinners and all the rest of it. And it's been a long time since I've had a real good firework show to celebrate with. So Claire understands that I'm going to go a little tiny kind of overboard here. So anyway, welcome to Republic Broadcasting Network here. We've got a lot to talk about. We're going to take news for the first hour and then your phone calls for the second hour. And apparently over in Portland, which is not too far from where our family is moving to, or parts of our family is moving to, they've declared a civil disturbance in downtown Portland. Apparently these things are still going on all over the place. And it's not helping the matter that the body count is piling up. Now, apparently over in South Carolina back in March, there was a shooting involving a black handcuffed shoplifting suspect outside of Walmart. Now, the cops are insisting he pointed a gun at them. I don't think anybody should die, you know, for shoplifting a door lock set, which is what he supposedly took. And apparently the police shot him from something like 8 cars away, but there was no evidence the gun found supposedly on the perpetrator's body had even been fired. So this is really getting out of hand. And it's almost like we're being hammered over and over and over again. Police brutality, police brutality, police brutality. Now over in New York, the New York Police Department is investigating whether 3 police officers were served poisoned milkshakes at a downtown Manhattan Shake Shack. Now, as it turns out, they were poisoned by bleach that had been improperly cleaned from the machine that makes the shakes. And I don't know if you've ever worked fast food or something when you were growing up, but those machines, they go through a very extensive cleaning, and if you don't do it right, yes, you'll wind up with cleaning solution like bleach when it's turned back on again here. So they're saying there's no criminal intent, no criminal activity. It was just stupidity on the part of the Shake Shack staffer. Okay, now there's a story that came on out from stationgossip.com, and it's basically titled, "Do I Want to Deal with This Dude Right Now?" And it basically is talking about a video at the Atlanta Wendy's last Friday, where Rayshard Brooks, who was intoxicated, and the first police officer to arrive at the scene looked like he was just going to let the incident slide, according to his body camera footage. And then it just deteriorated. De-escalation, people, that's the word, de-escalation. Now, we are being told that Rayshard Brooks struggled with police, stole their taser, shot it at police, likely because he didn't want to go to prison based on prior record. Well, did he have an outstanding warrant? Because if you've had a prior record and you've already served your time, you know, what's the big deal? So something escalated that situation. And I'm very concerned that we seem to get these very provocative videos that are launched out on the corporate media. And then everybody gets riled up. And then all of a sudden there's a follow-up video that says, no, it was really the other way. So we're being manipulated. We're being dicked with here. And I don't like the fact that we're trying to make decisions on incomplete information. That's not fair to us. It's not fair to the victims. It's not fair to the cops here. Okay? And by the way, little comment here. Okay, somebody gets killed by the police. Knee is on the neck for 9 minutes. He says he can't breathe. He's calling for his mother. He's crying. And then everybody says, well, let's dig into his past and see if he was a monster. How would you like it if you got killed and you didn't do anything to deserve it, and everybody dug into your past to find out reasons to say, oh, he was a bad person. It was okay for him to get killed. Anyway, the chairman of the Fraternal Order of Police National Trustees on Monday pushed back against claims that Atlanta police broke the rules in the Friday night shooting of Rayshard Brooks. Now, police are now being warned to take a knee could start trouble. Forces telling officers who don't kneel at Black Lives Matter events they could become the focus of protester attention. Yes, very easily they could. But I think this whole take the knee situation, in a second. There we are. So police are being warned that if they take a knee, if they don't take a knee, they'll be the subject of protester attention. This has gone on way, way, way too far. And there was that article that we talked about yesterday about it's time to grow up and stop being so sensitive. It's time to just going back to being people instead of running around whining and crying and looking for reasons, to feel bad about everything around you. Meanwhile, out in Los Angeles, the LAPD has run out of cash and they can't pay officers overtime. Morale is at rock bottom, according to KTTV. And apparently the department has literally run out of cash. What a mess this is turning out to be. And you know what's really kind of a little scary about the situation? It doesn't look like anybody's in control. Everybody's out there. They're making press statements. They're trying to politicize the issue, but they're not really in control. They're not managing the situation here. Over in New York, their police department has eliminated the controversial plainclothes division from the force and reassigns the officers to other duties. And apparently it's the plainclothes anti-crime units have been involved in a disproportionate number of the city's fatal officer-involved shootings, particularly through some of the highest profile shootings that have drawn local condemnation in recent years. I think they're talking about the guy that was shot for selling cigarettes one at a time. Alrighty. Apparently traffic is now banned from Brooklyn, from a specific block in Brooklyn rather, with a new Black Lives Matter mural. And this was announced by Mayor de Blasio yesterday. The mural, which was painted over the weekend along the roadway on Fulton Street between Marcy and Brooklyn Avenues, mimics one installed on Washington, D.C. 16th Street outside the White House last week. Muriel Bowser, the mayor of D.C., also named the stretch Black Lives Matter Plaza. This is kind of strange, actually. This is coming out of Germany, no less. Not being racist isn't enough. Germans must be anti-racist. This from President Steinmeier. All right, here's my problem with that. How are you able to be an anti-racist without actually being a racist? I mean, if you think about it, what he's talking about is racism in reverse. This group of people has been racially insensitive to that group of people. Well, you can stop being insensitive. But what happens if you push too far and you go the other way? Where the original target group now becomes the ones that are racially insensitive. You don't cure racism by being racist. You just don't. But it sounds good in the press, and that's what he's going for, sounding good in the press here. Oklahoma State star running back Chuba Hubbard on Monday launched an attack against head coach Mike Gundy's choice of T-shirts by saying he would refuse to play for the team because of a picture that shows Gundy wearing a shirt with the logo of a network Hubbard does not like, the One American News Network. People, it's time to grow up. You know something? Mike Gundy has a right to wear a T-shirt. Any T-shirt he wants. That's his First Amendment right. And by going on out there and threatening to boycott the games because you don't like the t-shirt, that's infringing his First Amendment rights. Do we really want to go down that path of I can infringe your rights more than you can infringe mine? And some of it is just downright silly. And here's a good example. Pardon me. Over in Tennessee, there's a petition circulating to rename the city of Lynchburg. And basically, it's part of this movement to destroy all aspects of history which don't suit people. So this is Lynchburg, Virginia, not Tennessee, my mistake. So far, it's gathered over 3,000 signatures in hopes of altering the city's names. Now, according to the petition, the name Lynchburg is ripe with violent, racist, and horrifying connotations. There's one big problem with that line of reasoning. Lynchburg was named after John Lynch, a famous abolitionist. Now, Daisy Howard, who is the creator of the petition, argues that rather than promoting education on the history of the city, the name should be erased altogether because it's got the syllable in there, Lynch. Oh, that's bad. That's bad. We've got to let it go. We've got to erase it completely. And she says, I understand it was named after an abolitionist, but why do we insist on having to explain that when people react to its name? Well, maybe because that's called education, and a little more education, we're not going to have these knee-jerk reactions out there. Reminds me of a incident that happened, I think, about 6-7 years ago, where somebody used the word niggardly in a government paper. And everybody exploded. Oh, my God, they used the N-word. They used the N-word. And the guy said, no, look it up in the dictionary. Niggardly has a completely different meaning. It means cheap. It means stingy. It means manini. But nobody cared. We've got the word. We've got the word right in front of us. We can get political gain out of this. Now, the petition down in Virginia also fails to mention that Lynch freed all of his own slaves, and he spent his life as an anti-slavery advocate. So this Daisy Howard, what a piece of work. Yes, I know he wasn't a slaveholder. Yes, I don't care. The word lynch is there. Let's get rid of it. Let's go through the dictionary and erase any word that has any syllable that anybody has a problem with. Imagine what all the Karens are going to do with that one. Okay, former Labor Member of Parliament Fiona Onasanwa is attacking the Kellogg's company for using a monkey as the mascot for brown Cocoa Pops, but 3 white boys on Rice Krispies. Can we get real? This was a member of the government, and this is what yanks your crank right now? Now, Cocoa Pops are fun. I remember eating them as a kid. But apparently Coco the monkey, that's bad. That's bad. Amazing. All righty. Trump is out there campaigning now, and he's announced a staggering number of ticket requests for his first rally. The number of people attempting to reserve seats for Trump's first rally since the coronavirus outbreak continues to skyrocket. Meanwhile, of course, the controversy over John Bolton's forthcoming book continues, and Trump is saying that John Bolton should be treated as a criminal for the book and the TV interview, and says every conversation with the president is highly classified. Actually, no. You have to go through a process of saying the contents of this document, the contents of this meeting are classified. And you can't retroactively classify at all. But apparently there's something coming out. Trump is apparently squirming about this other book that's been put out by his niece, which includes some of his leaked tax returns, which he did not want to get out. It's going to be a dirty election. It's already a dirty election here. Talking about coronavirus, New York Governor Cuomo could reverse the reopening in regions breaking social distancing rules. Restaurants and bars could lose their liquor licenses. Apparently, a lot of places, 12 places, we talked about it yesterday, a lot of places came on out, and their coronavirus rates are starting to go back up. Not all of them. couple of places they're still continuing to decline. But Donald Trump is now out there, and you're going to have to follow this one closely. He's saying the surge in coronavirus cases is because of increase in testing, and claims that if the U.S. would have very few cases if it stopped testing. Well, that sort of makes common sense until you say that if we stopped looking for ice, the Titanic might not sink. So, turning to the international news, the United States is imposing crushing sanctions on Syria that will take effect this week. In fact, it's set to hit tomorrow. The Arab nation is already struggling to rebuild from the 9-year civil war that shattered the country. U.S. sanctions are already impeding the reconstruction effort, and some fear the new measures will only make a bad situation worse for the Syrian civilians. U.S. and EU sanctions on Syria have already frozen the assets of the state and hundreds of companies and individuals. The sanctions also prohibit Americans from exporting anything to Syria and bar U.S. citizens from investing in the country. The new sanctions will give the U.S. the power to freeze the assets of any individual, regardless of nationality, for doing business in Syria. And here I thought we were all bringing our boys home. Apparently not. There's been another Saudi airstrike killing civilians in Yemen. 13 civilians have been killed from an airstrike from the coalition. Hit a vehicle carrying civilians in North Yemen on Monday. The airstrike killed 13 people, including 4 children. Same day, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres removed the Saudi coalition from a global list of parties who have harmed children in conflicts. Takes a lot of juice to do that, a lot of money. Yes, the Saudis have harmed children in conflicts. They should be on that list. The international humanitarian group Save the Children said the victims were on their way home from a local market when the vehicle was suddenly bombed. The Houthi self-ministry identified 11 of the victims, which included 1 woman and 4 children, ages 12 through 14. Now, the coalition often targets civilian infrastructure, which is why Guterres' move to remove them from the blacklist drew sharp commendation, as it should, from human rights groups. Saudi warplanes have hit schools, hospitals, water treatment plants, markets, weddings, and other civilian targets. Nasty stuff over there. Netanyahu is still trying to get the approval of the defense minister for annexation of the West Bank. The good sources say Netanyahu is looking to dissolve the coalition government. You didn't think he was really going to go along with Benny Gantz. So, meanwhile, Israel has reportedly increased the number of their nuclear warheads in their secretive stockpile to 90 warheads. Don't tell anybody, it's a secret. So they may have increased their nuclear stockpile from 80 warheads in 2019 to 90 in 2020, according to a new report by a leading global arms watchdog. The Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, SIPRI, said in its annual report on Monday that Israel, one of the world's 9 nuclear powers, could be in possession of up to 90 nuclear warheads. I've heard higher numbers than that, by the way. The watchdog said the true number could be higher as Israel does not officially comment on its nuclear capabilities. Their attitude officially is one of ambiguous. Maybe we do and maybe we don't. It's up to you to guess. So Israel continues to maintain its long-standing policy of nuclear opacity. It neither officially confirms or denies that it possesses nuclear weapons, but it sure drops a lot of hints, doesn't it? Comments like, the Arabs may have the oil, but we've got the matches. Okay, remember the Peace House? This was a building that was built right on the border between North and South Korea, and they made a big deal about the leadership of both countries meeting there. I think it was about 2 years ago. That has now been blown up by North Korea as a symbolic gesture that they're not happy with the way negotiations have gone. We have to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back after these few words. Welcome back to our show here. And following days of escalating tensions between the 2 nuclear-armed neighbors, Indian Army officials confirmed that 3 troops, an officer and 2 soldiers, had been gunned down by Chinese forces during a violent face-off in Galwan Valley in the Ladakh region, which rests along the country's border with China, on Monday night. Everybody's spoiling for a fight. Everybody wants a big fight here. So A statement from the Indian Army says both sides were meeting to diffuse tensions. Good job. Building up on the border for the last several weeks. Other reports indicate the soldiers weren't shot, but had been killed during a rock-throwing melee reminiscent of another border incident back in May, where both sides reported injuries here. Now, this is getting a little bit strange, this next story here. Apparently, U.S. newspapers, not content with the generosity of their owners and backers and political lobbyists and stuff, have received $19 million from a Chinese propaganda outlet. And you basically, if you click any random story on the China Daily website, it reads like something from the English version of the pamphlet for the celebration of the glorious 6th anniversary of the fortuitous microchip advancement without any IP theft. We swear to God, stop accusing us of that. But apparently China's taking their public image very, very seriously, and they're now buying into what the U.S. media is so willing to sell, which is access. Okay, apparently wealthy Chinese are rushing to move cash abroad ahead of perceived coming weakness of the yuan. And they're going to great lengths to move their money out of the country and amid growing trade tensions with the United States, according to the Nikkei Asian Review. China caps foreign exchange to $50,000 per year per person. For overseas investments, buyers typically use multi-member families to pool their funds and exceed the limit, or they will bring cash while they travel abroad, a strategy which has been put on hold during the pandemic travel bans. A black market currency dealer, when he was approached on West Nanjing Road, said there's no room for negotiation today. It's going to be 7.2 yuan to the dollar. Okay, wild swings will drag stocks lower, hedge fund manager Mark Yusko warns. It's just, I mean, for those of you who are actually still playing in the market, this has got to be a very scary time. You're trying to see, you know, what's going on? Where can I go? Where can I protect my wealth? Well, one obvious answer is silver and gold here. The United States is going to fund, they're going to write the check for Brazil's 5G infrastructure on the condition that Brazil dump Huawei. Told you it was all about market share. Meanwhile, smart money is betting on 5 new energy technologies that are coming along and have been for quite some time. The COVID-19 pandemic has dealt a blow to the energy sector well beyond the fossil fuel collapse. The renewable energy industry was in full swing before the health crisis struck, with 184 gigawatts of new clean energy capacity added in 2019, good for 12% year-to-year growth. Unfortunately, a short-run contraction is now expected, with Morgan Stanley projecting declines of 48%, 28%, and 17% in U.S. solar photovoltaic installations. Okay, so what are they looking at? They're looking at fusion. They've been looking at fusion for a very, very long time. Scientists and energy experts consider nuclear fusion the holy grail for clean, abundant, and sustainable power. Actually, I think it would be matter, antimatter, but they're laboratory. Unfortunately, a host of technical issues have so far prevented the technology from becoming a reality, though France's International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor is working hard to change that. I thought the Chinese had achieved break even with their fusion reactor. And same thing with the Russian tokamaks. They were able to get as much energy out as they were putting in. Bloomberg has reported that Commonwealth Fusion Systems has raised $84 million from Singapore's Temasek Holding, Norway's Equinor, and other investors in its latest round. Founded by MIT researchers in 2018, Commonwealth Fusion System has now raised more than $200 million. More than $1.2 billion has poured into private fusion startups such as Commonwealth's Fusion System, Canada's General Fusion Incorporated, the US TAE Technologies Inc., and UK's Tokamak Energy Limited. The $22 billion IDAR is a collaborative effort by 35 countries and expects to begin testing in 5 years. Apparently, one of the other big breakthroughs happening right now are solid-state circuit breakers. Oh boy, I can see the electric meter people just going crazy on this one. All right, we have to take another break for commercials. We'll be back after these few words. And welcome back to our show here. And if you thought the controversy over smart meters was intense, it's about to get really, really bad, because one of the hot items on the horizon are solid-state circuit breakers, which can operate at much higher speeds and response than the conventional electromechanical type. And they also have they're free from arcing and switch mounts, higher reliability, longer lifetimes. And they can also be used as a remote motor controller. So this is coming from Atom Power in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it's developing these solid-state circuit breakers for commercial and industrial buildings. Atom's digital circuit breakers are 3,000 times faster than a typical electromagnetic switch, and also support software-enabled features, including remote control and on-off scheduling. So, moving on down the list, we have graphene super batteries. Everybody wants a better battery, and apparently companies are looking at graphene as a new material, a new electrode. Graphene is considered the thinnest, strongest, and most conductive material. It comes in super thin sheets, 1 atom thick. Now, the graphene industry is still in its infancy, with plenty of promising applications, including faster and efficient electronics, efficient solar panels, anti-corrosion coatings and paints, efficient and precise sensors, flexible displays, there's an interesting one, faster DNA sequencing, and drug delivery, among others. So startup Nanotech Energy has reported it has closed a $27.5 million funding round, giving it a post-funding valuation of $227.5 million. So good for them. Another technology that is being pushed forward out there. This is from our good friends up at the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, and it's direct air capture of CO2. And this is trying to exploit the scare of human-caused global warming. And the IPCC has warned that we need to limit global warming to no more than 1.5 degrees centigrade, or face the consequences of irreversible damage to entire ecosystems. The truth is, this is almost impossible to achieve without removing CO2 directly from the atmosphere, hence the push to move forward with CO2-based products. And McKinsey & Company estimates that CO2-based products could be worth up to $1 trillion by 2030, with carbon capture reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 1 billion metric tons annually. Now, Climeworks is a Swiss startup and an ETH spin-off, has raised $75 million in funding for direct air capture of carbon dioxide in what is termed the largest private investment in its pollution mitigating technology. I have an idea. Let's plant some flowers, ficus trees, sunflowers. That takes carbon dioxide directly out of the air. Anyway, and they're going to wander back into deep geothermal. So they're trying to develop high energy beams, direct energy drilling, and they're going to be using millimeter waves to accomplish these feats. Now, we had a geothermal plant out in Hawaii, which unfortunately got destroyed in the last eruption, but it's still a viable idea. Okay, over in the Supreme Court, they're handing down some decisions, and in some cases, they're not handing down decisions. Yesterday, of course, there was the transgender rights into American law. You cannot discriminate for against somebody for being LGBT, which I actually agree with, that this is a good thing. But apparently they turned away a slate of court cases that aim to solidify the Second Amendment, a right that is already enshrined in the Constitution. Now, if you're my age, you're probably going to remember back in the 1970s and 1980s, there was a crime spree in the Bay Area in California in the 70s and 80s called the Golden State Killer. And apparently the Golden State Killer, Joseph DeAngelo Jr., has decided to plead guilty to 88 charges, including rape and murder, to avoid the death penalty and violent crime spree that terrorized the Bay Area in the 70s and 80s. Somebody sent me a graph the other day, the leading cause of rape, rapists. That's it right there. Over in Scotland, they have launched a startup space firm. Rocket firm Skyrora, based in Edinburgh, performed the launch last Saturday. The Skylark Nano took off from Fethaland Peninsula on the Shetlands mainland. Firm hopes to be using a large version to put objects into orbit by 2022. Okay, we're going to go ahead and open the phone lines. I keep getting nags from the control room. Now, remember we talked yesterday about that Air Force F-15C fighter crashed into the North Sea off the Yorkshire coast. And they found the pilot's body today, so a little bit of sadness. All right, we're going to open the phone lines now. 800-313-9443, 800-313-9443. Okay, we're seeing a lot of magical thinking going on between COVID-19, the economy, the rioting, this idea that if we think positive, everything's going to work on out. I wish it were that easy. I really do. And unfortunately, it isn't. We're dealing with some very unpleasant realities. Okay, now, this one, I'm not buying this one. Apparently, Boston may remove the statue of Abraham Lincoln freeing the slaves. Apparently, another petition circulated through the city, and Democratic Boston Mayor Marty Walsh's office said he's going to take time to assess the historical meaning of the statue and possibly recommission it. A 7,000 signature petition has urged the city officials to remove the sculpture that they deem to be misleading. The relic features Lincoln standing with his hand above an unshackled free black man with the inscription, "A race set free." To some, this is a tribute of Lincoln's policies, but to others, it's derogatory. Look at all that is going wrong with this country right now. Shouldn't we be focusing on that? Or are we just so desperate to be distracted that we're willing to go along with bread and circuses and gladiatorial games? Now, if you really think about it, the propagandists have been very, very clever because they've created a situation in which between COVID-19 and Black Lives Matter, we're terrified of talking to each other person to person. So we're doing all of our communicating through social media, which is now being censored and filtered and controlled. So you just think about that for a little while. You've been played, people. You have been played. Okay, now, let's see. We're going to take a phone call. Don in Arizona. Hello, Don. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yes, apparently the Golden State Killer, Joey DeAngelo, is, they say he's going to plead, but he changes his mind sometimes. But yeah, he's probably going to plead guilty because I think the main reason he's pleading, he just doesn't want to put his family. He has a family. He has daughters that he loves. Actually, I think both of his daughters are doctors, and he doesn't want to embarrass them completely by having this long 3-year trial or whatever it would be for him to try to. And he can't win the.
Considerate of him.
Anyway. Well, he does. I mean, that's the way a lot of these guys are. They have a family. Their family is completely. They're compartmentalized.
Yes.
The other guy, the guy in Wichita, Kansas, was the same way. He had a family. He was a president of his church. That's how they caught him. This guy, Joey DeAngelo, they say he's doing it to avoid the death penalty, but he would never have he would never have been executed anyway in California.
True.
As old as he is, it takes a long. Nobody's been executed there in a long time. Technically, they have the death penalty on the books. But I was involved. Actually, I was involved trying to catch him before he got caught. We were trying to catch him online, and so that was interesting. It was like some people still try to catch the Zodiac killer. Who's
Yeah.
never been caught, but that guy, it was pretty much thought that he was probably still alive, and he did finally get caught. And so it's good. I think it's a good thing. It's a good development. It's going to save the state of California a lot of money, which they don't have because they're bankrupt anyway. Going through these monstrous trial that it would, because he was being charged in a whole bunch of different jurisdictions in California, Sacramento,
Yeah.
Ventura County, and these different things he's done. And what they should have done is just got him one of these slam dunk cases where they had DNA anyway, but they let him stay there for a long time, and finally he did. That's what I thought he'd do in a long. I got kicked out of the website, so I'm not. I'm not in that Pro Board's website anymore about the Golden State Killer because they kicked me out for being a conspiracy theorist and talking about Coroni baloney and all this kind of stuff. So I've been kicked off of. That's why I'm glad that you still exist, Mike, and you haven't kicked me off of your telephone line yet. But it's a good thing that he's pleading guilty, and there's no need to have a huge trial, which would just be ridiculous. And okay, Mike, you take it easy. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Peter in Los Angeles. Hello, Peter. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Mike, I just wanted to run a couple things by everybody here, and one of which, since, of course, I think racism is the new capital crime, and, of course, nobody counts that when it's against white people. But it's worth knowing that other than things like democracy and trial by jury and for political ideas, racism and slavery have been around forever, always,
Yeah.
still now. Sudan, Libya, as you were saying, has been around forever. And it's hard to say who started it or whatever, but every people has been a slave at one time or another. But one thing you can absolutely attribute to one people, and that is abolitionism. The abolitionist movement started in England and New England.
Yes.
And that is undoubtedly, that is a political movement. It was authored by white people. Wanted to start out with that as something for people to think about as they're, toppling Lincoln and Jefferson and Washington and all these other people. And, it's really, it doesn't really matter what they believe. And even abolitionists like Lynch, the guy in Lynchburg, what matters, the targets here are white people themselves. And I'm from a mixed family here. I mean, my daughter, my wife, and I don't want anything extra at all. I just don't want to be a target. I want as much as everybody else. And I want everybody to have justice under the law, equal opportunity, not equal outcome, but equal opportunity, and justice for everybody, equal justice. But, let's call a spade here. That's, the concept of abolitionism is a European and North American white person concept, as a political movement. So it's important, I think, to acknowledge that. But it's also interesting to note, and I think that people more and more are pointing out the fact that, or at least indications that Antifa, which has been involved in all these, and is George Soros and Ford Foundation and all this other stuff, big money. And by the way, I just saw where Black Lives Matter got $1.7 billion
Yes.
in contributions from corporate America. So it's here to stay. It's absolutely heavily funded. It's more heavily funded than any presidential candidate. is here to stay. And if we don't stand up and allow, people to say all lives matter, then this destruction of history and this demonization is going to continue to the point where it's already a big problem. It's going to become a catastrophe. But
most people don't realize when we talk about the African slaves that were brought over prior to the Civil War, they were actually captured by other Africans. It wasn't that the whites sailed over to Africa, invaded, and grabbed all these people. They just showed up on the beach and bought them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And another thing that is the overrepresentative representation in the South of Jewish slave owners, and the fact that there were also black slave owners.
Yes.
And by the way, the Confederacy, in the very end, starting in January of '65, started drafting black troops. Black troops fought for the South.
Yes.
And then you have people like what's her name, Kamala Harris, whose family were slaveholders in Jamaica. So it's hard to say all this stuff, but nevertheless, until we can say all lives don't matter, and especially with the funding and the inertia that's gotten going as a sort of an anti-white movement, this is going to be a big problem and getting bigger. We have to stand up against that.
We have to stand up for truth and history.
The truth, period, and that all lives matter, and including black people. And everybody's against police brutality. Everybody's against that. Hopefully everybody's against a police state, but not Israel-trained, occupation police or militarized police that, by the way, under Obama, there was a transfer of, a lot of people don't know this, in 1941, June 22nd, when the Germans initiated. Sure.
Hold that thought. We're going to keep you on the line. We're going to be right back after these words from our sponsors. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Peter in Los Angeles. And Peter, if you could just sort of pick up right where you left off.
Well, Mike, we were talking about militarized police and police brutality and things like that, and a lot of people don't realize that in the largest land war in the history of the world, the Nazi-Soviet Barbarossa 41 to 45, when the Germans went into Russia, they on a 3,000-mile front, they had 3,725 armored fighting vehicles. Mm-hmm. And under Obama, this is just under Obama, in his administration, the U.S. military transferred over 4,000 armored vehicles, mostly MRAPs, which were in Iraq. They can't go off road at all, but they're mine resistant. They're armored, armored and all that. But they're made to keep down a hostile population. That, of course, the people were hostile to us, illegally invading them. But nevertheless, they transferred under Obama 4,000 of these to police forces, domestic police forces, more than the number of fighting vehicles that Hitler went after Stalin with in 1941. And that's just one aspect. Of course, it's a big one. The UCLA police, campus police, they have two of them. So this has been going on. This militarization of police has been going on under black presidents and black DOJs or attorney generals, two of them, and it's ongoing. And one of the reasons why this is nobody's ever reined in the out of control police here is because they're like the government itself. The law enforcement at every level in the United States is there to enforce the will of the owners of that government. We all know who they are, and so they don't want it. They don't want their marble palaces to be bum rushed by the troglodytes in the valley. And so they want somebody to be brutal. They want 4,000 armored fighting vehicles. And they're not going to really be reformed until the billionaires are gone. And by the way, without the quiescent press all this time, who didn't say anything when Obama did this, and didn't say anything about civil asset forfeiture and all the other horrible shit stuff that's gone on. Who are the owners of the press? Who are the owners of the government that have allowed this to happen? And you know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
And those are the people that control the government, control the press, and here we are. A brutal, militarized police, and the races divided against each other through a false narrative. It's really bad.
Yes, it is. And it's painful to watch.
With this corporate America, caving in with 1.7 billion, it's this polarization and this destruction of history and demonization of 60% of the population will only continue rapidly.
All right. Well, Peter, we got to let you go for station identification. We've got another caller waiting on the line. We've got some interesting emails I want to share with you. And we'll be back with hour number 2 after these few words. And welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And we're going to start off with Jim in Illinois. Hello, Jim. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Michael. Today I was reading a disturbing statistic, and I'm going to share this with you and your audience. Do you know that 40% of policemen have committed spousal abuse and other family abuse toward their loved ones? And I was really surprised to hear that. And they stated that this is higher than any NFL organization and 4 times higher than non-police workers. So there's something going on with the police. And I know you and I have talked about this. Don't you think that these cops should be tested on a random basis? And anytime they're involved in any kind of shooting or battery, they should be tested for drugs or something else?
Well, they should be, but we already know that the police have an abuse problem with antidepressants, and antidepressants can lead to violent behavior. Somebody did a study down in Florida and discovered that police are consuming 4 times as much antidepressants as ordinary Americans.
Right. Well, the reason I think people are not talking about that because the drug companies won't allow that.
Oh, the drug companies want to push this stuff as much as possible.
I would agree, but, have you heard anyone on the mainstream media talking about, are these cops on drugs or what's the deal? Oh, even
I'm still waiting for anybody on mainstream media to talk about the fact that Vince Foster did not, in fact, commit suicide.
Right. This is very true. And a problem with the police is their union. Their union is very powerful, and it seems like nobody wants to touch them.
Yep.
And this is kind of interesting also. Why is it that most of these incidents with these police, they happen in liberal democratic cities?
Good point.
You have any thoughts? Do you have any thoughts about that?
I think because there's perhaps too great a workload put on the police in terms of, all the little things that they have to keep an eye out. It's gone way beyond mere law enforcement. Now, around here in Indiana, it's almost unusual to see a police officer. When you do, they're there enforcing speed limits, things like that. But out in the liberal cities, they're out there, making sure that your tie matches your shoes or some such nonsense like that. And after a while, that's the sort of thing that leads postal workers to go postal.
That's very true. Okay, Michael, you take care.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Mark in North Carolina. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, a couple of things. Don't think this the COVID and all this race divisiveness isn't tied into one another, and there's something behind it. By the way, I just want to say something quickly about what this guy said before about cops being on medication, on psych meds.
Yeah.
I think of somebody in a law enforcement position, or any other position where he has to use force, or even in a job like truck driver where you got this huge vehicle under your control. If you're in psych meds, you shouldn't have jobs like that, period. You should be out if you're on any kind of psych meds. It's too dangerous,
I agree.
too unpredictable. But anyway, what's happening with a lot of this stuff now with both the COVID and with the race problems that we have, divide and conquer. That's all this is. The people in charge, the people who want to be in charge, whether it's top officials in government or the technocrats like Bill Gates, they want full control. And now they're using both. They're using again. You know, when it comes to COVID, I know you've got certain gentlemen there from New Jersey who loves to talk about masks, the importance of wearing a mask, and the importance of, and keeps on talking about, more cases all over the place and everything like that. The mask is nothing but a submission set. They want to use that as a sign of submission. Okay.
Yes.
That's what that mask is, and it's the same thing with all these cases they're talking about. It means people are being tested, which you really shouldn't. You shouldn't let yourself be tested in the first place. It's just a way of tracking you. But if you do get tested, good chance, you're going to show you had some contact with this virus, and nothing happened, which happens with most people. You have contact with some kind of virus and that, and nothing happens, and that's it. You go back to your business. But they want to try to scare us. That's all they're trying to do. They're trying to scare the crap out of us. All right? I just see. I saw something I posted on my Facebook too, and I posted to people, including family members. There's a thing now. I think the New York Times or the what Gerald Salente calls the toilet paper of record. They had, of all things, that if you flush the toilet, you're letting a whole bunch of COVID viruses fly out of the toilet.
And probably some nasty things besides that.
Yeah, this is. I'd say this is funny, but you probably got people that believe this. So I posted on my Facebook. I said, "Well, what are we going to do now? Start putting masks on our butts, okay?" But this is what it comes down to. People are panicking. This is not that terrible of a disease, folks. It's no worse than the flu. If you get a bad case of the flu, it can kill you, especially if you got a compromised immune system. That's the way it is. What happened in New York, why it has such a high, you have a governor there that should be indicted for mass murder for putting these patients in these nursing homes where people have almost no immunity at all left anymore because they're so, they have so many maladies, they're so weak, there's nothing you can do. What I am concerned now, though, is with all this mask wearing and stuff like that. And by the way, I go to stores sometimes and I tell these people, hey, why don't you take, you're hurting yourself with those masks. You're destroying your immune system. You're going to have people come out of their houses now, and they've locked themselves in their homes for who knows how long. They haven't had any sunshine, no fresh air, probably eating garbage foods. And they're going to come out there and they're going to start getting sick, not necessarily from the COVID, from other things, but they're going to say it's COVID. That's what they're doing. You get into a car wreck, they say you died of COVID. Your plane crashes, they say you died of COVID. There was a shooting in the state of Washington, and they say the murder victim died of COVID, okay, even though he was shot. It doesn't stop. I'll bet you some shyster lawyer is going to come up with George Floyd now because they did say he had COVID in his system. You get some shyster that'll come out and say it wasn't really having somebody sit in his neck with a knee, but it was really the COVID that killed him. Okay, they're going to try to get, leave it to a shyster lawyer to try something like that. Folks, understand this. You're being manipulated. We're all being manipulated. They want, one of the reasons why I want to get rid of the police, not to get the United Nations in. The United Nations wouldn't last 5 minutes against the American people. They want their robots. It's not science fiction anymore. They have these kind of robots. They're working on them, like in Boston Dynamics. They got stuff like we've seen in Terminator with very solid alloy. And these are the kind of people that are going to be coming out of the patrol cars one of these days when they stop you for speeding. This is what they want, folks. They want total control. Eventually, they want to kill most of us. That's what Bill Gates wants to do. Bill Gates and his psychopaths that he runs around with. Okay? Get it, understand it. Study Malthus, folks. But look at the Georgia Guidestones. These people are evil. Stark, raving evil. And that's all I got to say, Mike. Thanks. I hope you feel good. Right, bye.
All right, thanks an awful lot. And working on the feeling good part. Let's switch over to Tom in San Diego. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi. Am I on the air?
You're on the air.
Well, hi, Mike. First-time caller from San Diego. Wanted to first run that hydroxychloroquine thing by you.
Yeah.
What's your take on that so far?
I think there's a lot of money that is perceived to be on the line for anybody who comes up with a vaccine or not as good an idea, a cure. And I think that's what's going on here. There's a fight going on in the FDA to try and lobby various companies into better positions to market a vaccine.
Yeah, that's my take on it, too. I think this may go down in history as the biggest medical scandal of the 21st century. When you consider that the Lancet article was a complete, obvious fraud that got retracted. Yes. I'm still upset about it because when I first heard about it, I had hope when I heard about Raoul's studies in France, that came out early. And over 1,000 patients with a 90% success rate and stuff like that. It was hard.
Yeah.
So I'm a software guy, and I could talk about medical privacy, what's striking me now, or I could talk about white privilege, a new take on white privilege.
Well, let's go with the white privilege.
Oh, okay. My take on white privilege is the privilege to know the Constitution and to stand up for your rights. And I'm not seeing that among minority populations. I'm seeing kind of a reactive, like, don't touch me kind of thing, but no real knowledge of the long-standing traditions of just a knowledge of what it's like to have constitutional protections. A good example is down here in San Diego. I deal with a lot of Hispanics. I mean, I don't want to get racial, but there's a large immigrant population down here, and they don't seem to understand that people have rights, and they don't, and they're not active. I mean, they're just here to work and to do their thing. I just had a conflict last weekend with an employee at an auto parts store, and he physically assaulted me. And he thought that he had some specific rights because he was an employee of the store, and I was only an American citizen.
Well, that's not the way it used to be.
Right. So I just thought that was a cute take on it. Let's say white privilege is something to be striven for by everyone. Right?
Yeah. No reason we can't all be on the same party.
Right on. I guess that's about it. And the medical privacy thing also disturbs me.
Well, go ahead and give us your take on that.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to find a dental provider that doesn't use this Dentrix website provider for the office staff. And it seems to me that you have to sign over your entire medical history and privacy to these guys.
Well, everybody's trying to avoid malpractice lawsuits. I've been going through a lot of that paperwork as well with the situation I'm dealing with, and I don't like it. But in the end, you have to be pragmatic and say, I have to make some concessions here, or I'm not going to get the medical care I need.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I just think eventually we're going to find out that the gun was loaded.
Yes, no question.
You know, we're going to find out that these companies were selling their data to foreign companies without having to even tell their customers or anything. Maybe even doing it like through back doors that we could never find out about.
Entirely possible. Any place there's a way to make a buck, they're going to be going for it. It's just like yesterday I was talking about our new cell phones, and less than an hour after we got the new numbers on the cell phone, we got telemarketer calls.
Right. And that's even Apple, which you would expect to be relatively safe.
Well, it's a rotten apple, and I'm looking for the worm right now.
Oh, well, I'll take it with a grain of salt.
Okay, so anything else?
No, that's it for me.
All right, well, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to let you go. And we were going to take a phone call from Arjun in New Jersey, but apparently we've lost him. So let's go back and look at some more of the news that we've got there. All righty. Nigel Farage was in an interview with Breitbart, and he said, I've never seen so many people scared to say what they think. And yeah, we keep hearing that from our callers, that that's what this is all about. Keeping you silent, keeping you shut down, keeping you paralyzed. And as I said earlier in the show, think about what they've created between COVID-19 and Black Lives Matter and Antifa. We are now scared to say anything to anybody in person. So we flee back to the safety of social media only to find out it's being filtered and processed and screened. Apparently, over on Twitter, there's a trending hashtag expose Bill Gates by people who are out there who are saying they're not going to take any vaccine connected to Bill Gates and his empire here. Okay. An economist is out there saying Congress must incentivize employment, not unemployment. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. The way the system is set up right now, they're handing out money for people to sit at home and do nothing. We're hearing now about a $4,000 per month vacation giveaway. Who's going to pay for all this stuff? I mean, it's absolutely, absolutely nonsense here. Another article, this one from Investment Watch blog, warning you're being manipulated. Yes, we know we're being manipulated here. And in a sign of the times, cold Zoom call firings have now become common, which means your boss will call you up on Zoom and say, hi, turn in your stuff, clean off your desk, you're out of here. Okay, we already talked about Abraham Lincoln's statue. That one bothers me. I've been kind of low-key about all these statues being removed, but the one about Abraham Lincoln, that's bugging me. Okay. There we are. Okay. Phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Coming up on a commercial break here. And this one's a little twisted out there. According to activist and self-proclaimed anti-racist Tim Weiss on CNN, he says that white children do not deserve innocence, that they should not be allowed to grow up happy, healthy, and shielded from the horrors of this wicked world. Instead of being allowed to play with their friends, ride their bicycles, and coloring books and the normal things of childhood, white children should be exposed to social justice warrior propaganda and made to feel guilty about their white privilege at as young an age as possible. Yeah, let's go ahead and make them all just as neurotic as the inner city children. That's going to work out really good for everybody. Anyway, apparently there's another recall on ground beef sold at Walmart and other stores over an E. coli contamination. Alrighty, let's see. And we have a call on the line, Dustin in New Jersey. Hello, Dustin. Going to keep you through the commercial break. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up? First, I'm going to talk about the India-China flare-up. I don't know.
Yeah.
When you heard about, like, they first reported there's only 3 Indian soldiers killed. Now it's 20. It's
So it
quite a
took
bit
them a
more.
while. Yeah, it is.
And but India says 43 Chinese soldiers got killed, which it's coming from India. You got to take that with a grain of salt.
Right.
You know, either side you got to take it with a grain of salt. But like, what is this? Is this has nothing to do with? Remember, like a year ago or two, weren't they all like? Wasn't China moving to pave roads further inland in that area?
Yeah.
You remember that?
They will. Okay, Dustin, got to put you on hold.
Yeah.
We'll take
Okay.
a break for commercials. We'll be right back. And welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Dustin in New Jersey. And Dustin, if you could just sort of pick up where you left off.
Well, I went back. You remember the Indo-China War? That was in '62.
Yes.
You know, like, but when I was talking where in China was paving, like, doesn't India get it? Like, the Belt and the Road's the future. You would think they'd be jumping on board. They kind of were on board, remember? I mean, I know
Yes.
they were on board with the BRICS, but, like, they get their, I mean, if you think, Mike, 1962, and you look at now, the Chinese would not only, they got crushed, India got crushed back then. They would get so crushed now, you know, like if they, I know Modi, you know, he's a Sikh nationalist. He's been keeping quiet on this. I noticed the government of India is, for the most part, is quiet on this. So I don't know who, maybe the Indians went over the line. I mean, I don't know, you know, but like, I mean, I just don't get it. You got, do commerce, man. Like, you know, like, it's like with Kashmir, with Pakistan. You know, unless there are natural rare earth minerals in there, you know what I mean? Like, who benefits from, you know, isn't India the aggressor in Kashmir? Remember they went in with all with the army and then they subjugate the people in Pakistan. Even though the Pakistanis have their own terrorist cells, but so does India, you know? So, there's no good players in that, you know? But, like, you know, like, and that's at a time where you got this virus, which I'm going to switch over to and rebuttal Mark, because I want to ask Mark. He said, wearing a mask is bad for your immune system. Mark, would you go into a coal mine without a mask? Would you go into a fire without a breathing apparatus? You know, like, where is it good for you or not good for you? You know what I mean? Like, you're not wearing your mask. I mean, the masks that are out there are not like a mask you would wear into a coal mine. You know what I mean? That's like a different style. That's a gas mask particle, like that's a heavy particle mask, you know.
Yes.
But I mean, if you didn't wear a mask in a coal mine, would you really worry about your immune system more than breathing, you know, those particles of coal? Remember 9/11? Didn't a lot of the first responders, they didn't have masks. Remember? What happened to them?
I remember when the EPA said the air's clear, go ahead and do your job here. And they all came down with mesothelioma and black lung disease and all kinds of nasty stuff. And
who was the EPA put in by Bush? Christy Todd Whitman from the great state of New Jersey, right?
Yes.
So you know what's funny, Mike? Like I keep saying about Trump, Bush, Clinton's, Obama. Nothing's changed. It's the same crony system we got. And that also leads me to another thing, the protesters.
Yes.
At least they're I mean, even though it's orchestrated, but at least some of them think they're trying to do something. Like, what is the average, no offense against, I'm white, what's the average white guy do? I'm going to call my congressman, you know?
Yes.
I'm going to rate my you're going to call your congressman who gets probably $50,000, $100,000 contributions, and you think that phone call is really going to do anything? You know, at the end of the day, I know. I remember a lot of you call it, not a lot, but there's some callers who called in. Oh, I called my. It's not going to do nothing. Not going to do anything. Sorry. I mean, you're part of the system. As soon as remember that woman who, remember the woman and Republican. There was 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and mostly more. Remember they were selling they're selling their stock early when the virus first hit. Remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
That woman was only in, what, 6 to 8 weeks, that Republican woman. And she had insider trading. And Mike, I don't know if you knew this, but you know that woman, she bought stock in a company that does like online teaching. Did you know that? Yeah, she had a contact. I guess she had somebody she knew who ran a company for online teaching. What a great gig to get in at that particular moment in time, huh? What a coincidence,
very
huh?
much so.
So, yeah. So, and Mike, what happened to them? What happened to that? Remember the intelligence guy? Was it Burr?
Yeah.
Remember? Nothing. They dropped it, right? Barr dropped it. Who put Barr in? Trump. You know, and before I get off the phone, I'm going to go and say again, because I'm saying this every time I call. Well, not every time. Where's the indictments? Where's the jail terms for anybody? They must have died of coronavirus.
Yes.
Yes. Well, you know, it's funny, but it's not, right? It's sad at the end of the day. Where's Rudy Giuliani? He disappeared off the face of the earth. Like, what happened to him? Like, but you know, like, there's no indictments coming. I'm just going to keep pressing that. You can't indict the system you work for. At the end of the day, you know, that's part of the establishment, the system. And part of me likes the protesters, Mike. You know, maybe that needs to be done. The system's got to be burned down. You can't. There's no way to fix it otherwise. Calling your congressman is not going to fix it. There ain't going to be no indictments because the same people like Barr and all these other people, Lindsey Graham, they're part of the system. That's all I got to say, Mike. Have a good night.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We got more callers waiting on the line, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to our program. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, and we're going to take a call now from Pat in Fort Worth. Hello, Pat. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Thank you. Well, the number one problem with the corona supposedly is your lungs won't get you enough oxygen to your system to stay alive, right?
Yes.
It's not exactly how hot you are, how cold you are. At first, they say you could be a carrier, but you know, if you look at carbon monoxide poisoning, it sounds the same thing. Your blood just locks onto that one little oxygen it can get, and you just don't even know you're dying sometimes. You just feel tired or whatever. And so we one thing they talk about, carbon, CO2 and all that, and they're taking it away by making you wear a mask. So does that sound like a conspiracy?
Well, you need to understand that the amount of carbon dioxide you're exhaling through the mask is a lot greater than that which you inhale back in. And so it's not like all you're breathing is the carbon dioxide.
There's some oxygen out there on the other side of your body that you need to bring in.
Yes, and the masks are designed to do that.
Like you already said, plant trees.
Okay.
Well, that's why they call it greenhouse. You got a lot of oxygen in there, and everything grows real good. And you got a lot of CO2. And that's what they use, and they make oxygen, and you're happier because you get to smell the oxygen. You get the oxygen. I'm not making any sense. But anyway, since the problem is getting enough O2, why in the world aren't we having more hyperbaric chambers to heal people and to just set them in the hyperbaric chamber? Hey, we got a corroded hyperbaric, huh?
I'm sure the people with money are already getting hyperbaric chambers. Michael Jackson used to sleep in one.
It's not that it shouldn't cost so much.
But it does.
Well, it's because we don't have many people calling for it. All the insurance won't pay for it. And you know what else it'll do? Okay, you had a stroke, or even a little kid who's had some kind of disease, who's maybe been in a fetal position most of his life. Put him in a hyperbaric chamber, and he straightens right up. I'm telling you, medicine is nothing but to kill you. I just
Well,
got
to make money.
Well, that's their goal, but only if you get what you pay for. If you pay them to kill you, if you pay them to say you had corona, you die corona. Come on, isn't that right? Yeah, that's what's going on. That's what's going on.
I know they're being incentivized to say that they've got coronavirus patients.
Wait. Look, what if you had a hospital when you went there, you got better, cheaper? I guess that's why everybody's going back to vitamins. They're going back to homeopathy because that's true. God gave you free things. God didn't intend for you to use pharmakia. That's the word for witchcraft. And they'll tell you, if you don't believe your doctor can heal you, well, he can't. Well, he should be able to, whether I believe it or not. If he had anything to mess with, I don't know. It's crazy because not only do we have the capability of getting oxygen in people's lungs without fighting over whether they say that a thing that Trump took will kill you. It won't. I know somebody's been taking it 10 years. They just, but why say in the heat like 100 degrees here? Well, it's not going to be as much oxygen, right? Well, really.
that kind of depends. I mean, oxygen content has a lot more to do with the forestation around you than it does with the temperature.
Well, the way they're going, we probably won't have anything live. I mean, there won't be enough CO2 for there to grow anything. And not only that, I hate to tell you, but I've noticed wherever homosexuals take over, it won't rain. And if it don't rain, it don't cool off. And for anything to grow, you got to have water. I mean, water wars. They fight over water from here to Oklahoma to everywhere.
Yes, they do.
Because we're not on the right side of God. But this is another thing. Okay, so we're living in this here overpopulated, CO2 ridden ozone layer. Why can't we carry around a little tiny thing on our shoulder with oxygen sticking up under our mask?
Well, there's no real reason why you can't do that. The problem is getting the oxygen into that tank to begin with. And there are portable oxygen concentrators. We've seen the ads for them on TV.
Yeah, I know. There's technology out there, but unfortunately, the foundations that are destroying our country, like the Gates Foundation, they're getting paid to do it because they're tax-free. Tax-free. This morning, Chris was talking about that. I said, thank you, Chris, for saying that. We're letting these people destroy our country tax-free, and they're coming after the poor guy who has to worry about whether his new little stimulus check's going to run him into another tax bracket. I mean, this country, and that last guy, he's wrong. Calling does make a difference. I've seen it twice because people won't look out for themselves. And if you try to make their vitamins prescription, well, I'll tell you what, Henry Waxman, who did that in California, he got so many calls. He voted against his own bill. Nobody voted for it. And then the homeschoolers, they decided that homeschoolers had to have a college degree to do that. They got so many calls. They dropped that like a hot potato. So it does make a difference. It's just that people are being told that something doesn't work by somebody who doesn't know.
All right. Well, listen, Pat, thanks an awful lot for the call and for all the information that we've got here. But the phone lines are starting to load up, and we're starting to run out of time here. So let's go back. We're going to allow Mark in North Carolina a second call. Normally we don't, but he wants to rebut Dustin in New Jersey. So, Mark, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. All right, thanks, Mike. Hey, Dustin, do me a favor, man. All right? Open up your ears a little bit and understand what's going on, all right? This is not the same thing as stepping into a coal mine or going into a fire, okay? There's nothing out there. There's germs all over the place. Your stupid mask isn't going to protect you from those germs. It's just going to make you more susceptible to them and swallow your own germs, all right? Understand this. Stop being a Corona Karen, Dustin, okay? You're just insulting yourself, basically, okay? You're showing your ignorance. Maybe you need to come out of that cesspool called New Jersey and go to the real America and find out what real people are thinking.
Okay, Mark.
That's all I can say. That's good enough. Thanks. Bye. What? I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, let's not go personal. Let's not insult the entire state of New Jersey. So, have you anything else to share?
No, that's it. That's it. Just to let them know that. Oh, check out Dr. Buttar, Dustin. Maybe he'll help you. All right. That's it. Thanks.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Robert in New Jersey. Hello, Robert. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Mike. How are you? Yeah, I was calling up for Justin, also here in New Jersey. He should check out Fauci, Lane, and Redfield's article in the New England Journal of Medicine. It's entitled COVID-19, Navigating the Unknown. In that article, Fauci, Lane, and Redfield state that it's no more infectious nor deadly than a bad case of the flu. You should also look for a German German Interior Ministry report, which leaked out, and the Germans are very upset. I downloaded it. It's 93 pages. It's all in German, so you have to have it translated. However, some important key passages are, quote, from the report, the dangerousness of COVID-19 was overestimated. Probably at no point did the danger posed by the new virus go beyond the normal level. The people who die from corona are essentially those who statistically die this year because they've reached the end of their lives. It continued. Mm-hmm. Worldwide, within a quarter of a year, there have been no more than 250,000 deaths from COVID-19, compared to 1.5 million deaths in 25,100 of those were in Germany during the influenza wave of 2017 and 18. The danger is obviously no greater than that of many other viruses. There is no evidence that this was more than a false alarm. And that continues. And there's recently a study out of the University Hospital in Zurich. It's entitled Systemic and Mucosal Antibody Secretion Specific to SARS-CoV-2 during mild versus severe COVID-19. That state is far more extensive than thought, and thus, in essence, the infection rate is less because most people that come down with it don't develop antibodies. So they say it's 5 times more prevalent than thought. Thus, it's 5 times less infective than thought. I'd just like to end that. Thanks, Mike.
Okay, well, thanks an awful lot. Thank you for the phone call. Looking at our email box here, I got an email regarding Pat's claim that wherever there are homosexuals, it won't rain. And the response there is I'll make a point of inviting as many of them as possible to our next family picnic. And yeah, I had a little problem with that one as well. Okay, the phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And getting on down here, let's see, we already talked about the gun control, plainclothes division. Apparently, there was some kind of a kerfuffle going on over in Germany, where the German prosecutor is claiming that the daughter of Kate and Jerry McCann is dead, and they're saying, no, we have no evidence to support that. And so that one's going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Okay, apparently Facebook censors and threatens discern for sharing WHO officials' exact words. Now that is censorship. When somebody's out there and they're directly quoting, yeah. Well, it's like I said, they're filtering everything that we say. And now they've got us too scared to talk to each other. All righty. I think over the last several years, I have been forecasting the future of this country as a Soviet Union style collapse, and I'm starting to think it's imminent. Okay, let's see. Inside Chaz, which is, I guess, what they're calling the autonomous region now, a black female street preacher informs white woman about why blacks should vote against the Democratic Party. Well, because you're getting used. 7 more Minneapolis police officers resign. New York Police Commissioner announces NYPD will be disbanding entire anti-crime unit effective immediately. This is just insane. All right, we're going to take another phone call. Miles in Maine. Hello, Miles. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Michael. Great to have you back and hear that voice of yours on the airwaves.
Thank you.
I was just thinking, I hope Claire's doing well too.
Yes, she is.
You guys have a good vacation? Did you get any rest?
Not as much as I really could have, and Claire spent most of the vacation working on a new piece of music that's going to be performed at her local church.
Oh, beautiful. Well, you got to get your rest, Michael. Keep yourself well.
I know.
But anyway, get that rest and get those vitamins down. But lots of good fresh water, too, will help you out. But
yes.
I was thinking of our friend Dustin there in New Jersey, and I come up with a policy that, I know he's got a little bit of a liberal streak there, a little bit of a liberal streak there. So I was wondering what I could come up with for Dustin to make him happy. So I decided that I think the policy should be don't mask, don't tell.
I love it. That's a good one.
Well, thanks a bunch, Michael. Good to hear you. Now, keep up the good work. Get yourself some rest, man. We don't want to lose you again. Although you had some nice, pretty good shows that we're filling in for you with the hosts and that. But
yes,
there's only one Mike Rivero. That's why
they
we're
did
all
a
here.
really, really good job. They did a good job. Okay, let's see. All right, thank you for the phone call. We're going to let you go. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. We've got time to sneak maybe another 2-3 calls in here. Getting on back to the news here. Apparently, Hollywood is praising the Supreme Court on their decision regarding LGBT discrimination. Not that when I worked in Hollywood, I didn't see any problems along that line. In fact, anything you could be discriminated against for not being LGBT. All righty. Trump says the shooting of Rayshard Brooks is very disturbing. Yes, it is. Tell us something we don't know. China has unveiled a small but lethal war robot, Sharp Claw 1, that's armed with a machine gun and night vision. Thrills, 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 thrills. Okay. Somebody posted to What Really Happened a link to the movie Song of the South, which Splash Mountain is based on. It's been the center of all this controversy. And you've all heard the song Zippity Doo Dah. And you only vaguely know about why there was a controversy to begin with. All right, we're going to take a break for commercials. Back with the show's last segment after these few words. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to take a phone call from James in Vancouver. Hello, James. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I was wondering, what was the status? How did that space flight go that happened recently? Was it successful?
Yes, I mean, they're up at the space station now, and in another few weeks, they're going to ride back down and rotate the cruise.
I see. Sounds good. How high are they? 100 miles, or how high up?
Well, it's higher than that. I think it's over 200 miles. I mean, they want to keep that space station out of the way of anything else that might cause damage. So I think it's like 270 miles, something like that.
Right. Well, I'm glad everything went well.
Well, me too. And of course, the mission isn't over yet, but hopefully it will be, and it will be a success.
I mean, the first part went well.
Yes, the first part went very well. Wasn't that a good-looking
Okay, well,
spaceship?
Sorry?
Wasn't that a good-looking spaceship? I mean, it's great the spaceship is working, but man, Elon Musk did it with style. You know, with those, what they call the tuxedo spacesuits.
Yeah. It's perhaps a new level of technology they got.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and I think it's good for the United States. Good for everybody.
Good for everybody. All right, thanks a lot for the phone call, James. We're going to switch over to Carrie in Wisconsin. Hello, Carrie. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, hey, good afternoon, Michael. So, hey, you did a story briefly yesterday about a company, a tattoo parlor.
Yes.
That will, for free, cover up any indiscriminate inking that someone may have had throughout their life, right?
Yes.
And so, you know, just sitting in a dilemma because never had any actual ink done.
Yeah.
But, you know, based on what I hear throughout the news and mainstream, you know, that I'm white, I'm middle-aged, must have a privileged life, and I'm inherently racist. I was wondering, what kind of tattoo do you think I should get to make me look more acceptable in the public eye? I was thinking something like a Mike Tyson over the forehead.
I would say handle with care.
What kind of tattoos do you have, Michael?
I don't have any. The only time I came close to getting a tattoo, I was down in Tahiti at the time, and I seriously came close to getting just a Polynesian band wrapped around one ankle, but I chickened out at the last minute.
Okay. Yeah, you know, I guess throughout my whole life I figured, well, heck, I'm unique just in the simplicity that I don't have any tattoos or piercings, but I thought perhaps if they're willing to spend the time to cover up someone's bad idea, maybe they'd give me a good idea to fit in with society a little better.
Well, you know, there is such a thing as temporary tattoos.
Right. Well, I appreciate it, Michael. Love you guys. Keep it going strong, baby. Bye.
Thanks an awful lot. As long as we can, please stay tuned for John Stedmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you, like what tattoos he has. So please spread the word of RBN, spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. We need your help, and we'll catch you tomorrow. Aloha, America.